Have you ever felt like there are opportunities in your life that you can't quite explain? Perhaps something came up unexpectedly, an opportunity, a person, or an event that seemed to appear at just the right moment. Could these be opportunities from God, moments when He is sending you signs and guiding you toward a greater purpose? What if some of these coincidences are more than chance? Could they be divine moments meant to lead you down the path you were destined for? In life, we often encounter unexpected opportunities or events that seem hard to explain. They may feel like mere coincidences or chance encounters, but what if they are actually moments when God is intervening, sending us opportunities to fulfill a greater purpose? Sometimes, it's easy to overlook these moments because they don't always come in the form we expect. But could these opportunities be signs that God is guiding us towards something more meaningful, something beyond our immediate understanding? Many people have experienced moments where, looking back, they realize that certain events were divinely orchestrated. Opportunities arise at times when we need them most, but they require us to be open and aware enough to recognize them. Whether it's a new job offer, a relationship, or an idea that sparks a change in direction, these moments often feel like nudges from a higher power, urging us to take a step forward on the path that has been laid out for us. However, it's not always easy to see these moments for what they are, and that's where recognizing them becomes key. Recognizing opportunities from God is vital to living a life of purpose and meaning. These divine moments are meant to align us with the path God has set for us, guiding us toward growth, fulfillment, and service. When we are open to these opportunities, we become more connected to our true purpose, knowing that we are moving towards something greater than ourselves. However, it's not always easy to see these opportunities. Sometimes, they appear in unexpected or difficult circumstances. Perhaps we face setbacks, challenges, or doors that seem closed, and in those moments, we might question whether we're being led in the right direction. Patience, understanding, and trust in God's plan are key. Recognizing these opportunities takes time and a willingness to look beyond the surface of everyday events. It requires a deeper awareness, an ability to see the bigger picture, and trust that the opportunities presented are part of a divine design. In this video, we've touched on the importance of recognizing divine opportunities and how doing so can lead to a more purposeful life. The key is being open and patient, learning to trust that even in moments of uncertainty, God is guiding us towards something meaningful. In the journey of faith, one of the most profound experiences is recognizing the signs God sends our way. These signs can manifest in many different forms, guiding us in ways we may not immediately understand. God often communicates with us in subtle, unexpected ways, and it is through awareness and reflection that we begin to recognize His hand at work. These signs are not always overt or dramatic. They can come in the form of small moments, such as a feeling of peace in the midst of chaos, a chance encounter with someone who offers advice or comfort, or even the timing of events that seem to align in ways we couldn't have planned. At first, these signs may seem insignificant, but upon reflection, we realize that they were guiding us toward a particular direction or decision. For example, you might find yourself feeling a sudden sense of clarity about a decision, even though you've been uncertain for months. Or, you might meet someone who shares advice that seems to speak directly to the challenges you've been facing. These moments are not just coincidences. They could be divine signs that God is trying to communicate with you, offering guidance in the form of subtle nudges. Sometimes, the signs God sends can be unexpected events, a job offer that arrives at the perfect time, a door that opens when you least expect it, or a situation that forces you to confront something in your life that needs attention. These events often challenge us to look beyond our immediate circumstances and reflect on the deeper meaning they might hold. It is through recognizing these signs that we can align our actions and decisions with God's will for our lives. Across many religious traditions, there are countless stories of individuals receiving guidance through signs. These stories serve as powerful reminders that God communicates with us in various ways, and that our faith is often nurtured and tested through these divine interventions. In the Bible, one of the most well-known examples is Moses and the burning bush. In the book of Exodus, Moses encounters a bush that burns, but is not consumed by fire. This is not a natural occurrence, it is a divine sign, meant to draw Moses' attention and call him into service. Through this extraordinary event, Moses is given his mission to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. The burning bush was not just a physical phenomenon, it was a sign of divine intervention and a clear directive from God. For Moses, recognizing this sign was pivotal in accepting his calling and stepping into the plan God had for his life. Similarly, the life of Jesus Christ is full of instances where signs and miracles were used to guide and teach. Jesus' teachings and miracles were often signs to his disciples and followers, pointing them toward the kingdom of God. For instance, when Jesus fed the 5,000 with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, this was not just an act of kindness, it was a sign of God's provision and a message about trust and faith. Through such signs, Jesus demonstrated that faith in God's power can transform even the most impossible situations. In many religious traditions, signs from God are seen as a form of divine teaching. They provide clarity, offer direction, and sometimes test our faith. But in all cases, the signs point us back to God, reminding us that He is active in our lives, guiding us, and calling us into deeper relationship with Him. Alongside external signs, one of the most personal and profound ways that God communicates with us is through our inner feelings and intuition. These inner promptings, often subtle yet powerful, are a form of divine guidance that many people experience, especially when facing difficult decisions or life changes. Intuition is often described as a gut feeling or a sense of knowing without logical reasoning. It's the feeling that tells us to go left when we were about to go right, or the subtle nudge that encourages us to reach out to someone in need. For many, this intuitive sense is a spiritual signal, an inner knowing that guides us in the right direction, even when there is no logical explanation. At times, these intuitive feelings can be overwhelming, almost as if something deep within us is urging us to take a certain step or change our course. This is often the voice of God, communicating through our hearts and minds. The more attuned we are to these feelings, the more we begin to recognize them as the voice of God leading us toward the choices we need to make. For example, when you face a situation that seems to lack clear direction, you might feel an internal sense of peace when you make one choice, and a sense of unease when you consider another. These feelings of comfort or discomfort are not random. They can be God's way of helping us recognize the best path to take. It is important to remember that these inner promptings are often gentle and quiet, so it requires mindfulness and spiritual awareness to hear them clearly. The Bible also speaks of God's voice as being like a still, small voice, not something forceful or overpowering, but a gentle whisper that speaks to our hearts. 1 Kings 19:12. Intuition is often that whisper, calling us to trust, to follow, and to walk in alignment with God's will. Another key aspect of these inner feelings is their connection to our emotional state. Often, we may feel a sense of peace or discomfort in situations that are not aligned with God's plan for us. These emotional responses can serve as spiritual signals, helping us evaluate whether we are acting in accordance with the divine guidance in our lives. Over time, as we deepen our relationship with God, these inner feelings become easier to recognize and follow. Recognizing the signs God sends also requires faith, a deep trust in His presence and purpose. Often, the signs we receive may not make sense immediately, or they may seem too subtle or too challenging to comprehend. However, faith helps us look beyond the surface and trust that God's plan for us is unfolding in the way it is meant to. We may not always have immediate answers to our questions, but trusting that God is guiding us through these signs allows us to walk confidently, even in uncertainty. As we grow in faith and spiritual maturity, we become more attuned to God's guidance and more willing to follow the signs He sends. knowing that He is always with us, leading us toward His perfect will. In this section, we've explored the various signs that God sends to guide us through external events, religious texts, inner feelings, and intuition. These signs are God's way of communicating with us, offering direction, comfort, and reassurance when we face difficult decisions. To recognize these signs, we must be aware and open to God's voice, trusting that He is always guiding us, even when we don't fully understand His plan. The key is to remain faithful, patient, and attentive to the subtle ways God speaks to our hearts. Through these signs, we find not just answers, but a deeper connection to God's purpose for our lives. Recognizing opportunities from God is not something that happens passively. It requires intentionality and a spiritual practice that helps us tune in to the divine signs around us. These opportunities, while often subtle and quiet, can shape the course of our lives, and learning to identify them can lead to a more purposeful and meaningful journey. To practice recognizing opportunities from God, we must cultivate habits of prayer, meditation, and a willingness to act. In this section, we will explore the key ways to practice and prepare ourselves to recognize God's opportunities in our lives. One of the most powerful ways to connect with God and recognize the opportunities He is presenting is through prayer and meditation. These spiritual practices are essential tools in creating the space we need to hear from God and become aware of His subtle guidance. In our fast-paced world, it is easy to become distracted, overwhelmed, or even anxious about the decisions we face. Prayer and meditation offer us a way to quiet our minds and center our hearts on God. Prayer is a direct conversation with God. It is the place where we express our gratitude, our desires, our fears, and our questions. Through prayer, we open ourselves up to receive guidance and direction, allowing God to speak to us in a way that feels personal and intimate. Prayer is not just about asking for things or seeking comfort. It's also about listening for God's voice, waiting for Him to reveal the next steps we should take. In difficult moments, prayer becomes even more critical. When we face uncertainty, we often feel overwhelmed and unsure of how to proceed. Prayer helps us ground ourselves in faith, reminding us that God is with us in every situation. It offers us clarity in moments of confusion and peace when we feel anxious. Through consistent prayer, we start to develop a deeper relationship with God, which allows us to better recognize when He is guiding us. Meditation, on the other hand, allows us to reflect deeply and quietly on God's presence and will in our lives. It is a time of stillness, where we sit in silence and open our hearts to divine guidance. Meditation is different from prayer in that it doesn't necessarily involve speaking, but rather being present and attuned to the inner workings of our spirit. By meditating, we can listen for God's gentle whispers that may not be heard in the busyness of daily life. When we meditate, we become more receptive to the signs and opportunities God is placing in our path. It's during these quiet moments of stillness that we often experience a deeper sense of peace. And it's through this peace that God's guidance often comes to us most clearly. As we make time for prayer and meditation, we create the spiritual environment needed to recognize His voice and the opportunities He sends. One of the most important aspects of recognizing opportunities from God is learning to listen to His voice. God speaks to us in many different ways, and often we need to quiet our minds and attune our hearts to hear Him clearly. In the midst of life's distractions, it can be easy to overlook the subtle ways God speaks to us. This is why making time for God through prayer, meditation, and reflection is so crucial. God's voice often comes in the form of thoughts, feelings, or wisdom that arise during moments of stillness or in the midst of daily life. These whispers of insight may seem small at first, but as we grow in our spiritual practice, we become more attuned to God's direction. Sometimes, it's an inner feeling or intuitive, knowing that we should take a particular action or pursue a certain opportunity. Other times, God's voice may come through the words of others. Perhaps a friend or a mentor says something that resonates deeply, providing clarity on a decision you've been wrestling with. In the Bible, it is written that God speaks to us in a still, small voice, 1 Kings 19:12. This emphasizes the idea that God's voice is not loud or overwhelming, but gentle and patient. Often, we may feel a sudden peace or a sense of knowing that directs us in a particular direction. It's important to trust these feelings and recognize them as God's guidance. At times, God's voice might come as a thought that appears out of nowhere, suggesting a new direction or a solution to a problem. These thoughts or impressions may not always be loud or clear, but they are often a way God communicates with us when we open our hearts and minds to Him. The more we practice listening for God's voice, the easier it becomes to distinguish between His guidance and our own thoughts or desires. When we are genuinely seeking His will, God can direct us in a way that aligns with His greater plan for our lives. Listening to God's voice, then, is not just about hearing, but also about trusting His guidance and being willing to take action when He speaks. Recognizing opportunities from God is not just about seeing the signs, it is also about being ready to act on them when they come. Action is a critical part of the process. Once we recognize the signs or hear God's voice, we must have the courage to follow through. Too often, people receive God's guidance but hesitate to act because of fear, doubt, or uncertainty about the outcome. However, taking action in faith is often the very step that activates the blessings and opportunities God has in store for us. When God presents an opportunity, it's important to step out in faith, even when we don't have all the answers. God doesn't always reveal the full path immediately. Often, He only shows us the next step, and it is up to us to take that first step in faith. For example, God may lead us to take on a new job, start a new relationship, or make a major life change. These decisions can feel daunting, and the temptation is often to wait for more signs or clearer answers. But when God presents an opportunity, we must trust that He has already prepared the way and that He will guide us through. Patience plays an essential role in this process. While God's opportunities may be right in front of us, we must often wait for the right timing. Waiting can feel challenging, but it's during these moments of patience that we learn to trust God's perfect timing. He knows what is best for us, and we must trust that He will open the right doors at the right time. While waiting, we can continue to pray, meditate, and listen for further guidance, knowing that God's plan is unfolding in its own time. In this section, we've explored how to practice recognizing opportunities from God. Through prayer, meditation, and listening to His voice, we create the spiritual environment necessary to tune into His guidance. However, recognizing opportunities is only part of the equation. Patience and readiness to act are also critical components. When we recognize God's signs, we must trust in His timing and have the courage to step out in faith, knowing that He will guide us through each opportunity. God's opportunities are not always obvious, but by developing a habit of listening, trusting, and acting, we open ourselves to the abundant life He has planned for us. Faith is the foundation of this practice, and as we grow in our relationship with Him, we become more attuned to the signs and opportunities He places in our lives. Recognizing and acting on the opportunities that God places before us is essential for living a life of meaning and purpose. These divine moments when we see God's hand guiding us are not just random events, but pivotal moments that shape our journey. When we acknowledge and embrace these opportunities, we open ourselves up to a life filled with growth, fulfillment, and deeper connection to God's will. This section will explore the significance of recognizing God's opportunities and why it is so important for our personal development, our faith, and our sense of purpose in life. One of the primary reasons recognizing God's opportunities is so important is that it helps shape a purposeful life. As human beings, we all have a deep desire to know that our lives matter, that we are part of something greater than ourselves. This yearning is rooted in our spiritual nature, and it can only be fulfilled by aligning our lives with God's greater plan for us. When we recognize the opportunities God presents, we are not just moving toward personal success, but we are being guided towards something far more significant, a greater purpose. God's plan for us often involves more than just meeting personal goals or achieving material success. His plan is about impacting the world around us, contributing to the greater good, and fulfilling a mission that aligns with His will. When we see opportunities as part of this divine design, we shift our focus from self-centered ambitions to a broader, more eternal perspective. For example, someone might receive an unexpected job offer that they initially think is just a career opportunity. But upon further reflection and prayer, they realize that this job is more than just about financial stability. It is a platform for them to serve others and share God's love in the workplace. By embracing this opportunity, they align their career with God's plan, contributing to the world in ways they didn't anticipate. Through recognizing God's opportunities, we are led to places, situations, and relationships that help fulfill God's purposes on earth. Additionally, opportunities from God often lead to transformation, both in our own lives and in the lives of others. These moments can inspire change, spark growth, and lead to increased compassion and service. When we embrace God's opportunities, we become agents of change in a world that desperately needs love, hope, and purpose. The purposeful life that results is one that not only brings us peace and joy but also extends outwards to impact the world in profound ways. Recognizing and acting on the opportunities God sends our way is not only about achieving goals, it is about strengthening our faith and trust in Him. Life is full of uncertainties, and there are many times when we don't have all the answers or the clear direction we desire. In those moments, recognizing God's guidance becomes a powerful tool that deepens our trust in Him. When we respond to God's opportunities, we affirm our belief that He is actively involved in our lives and that He is leading us according to His perfect plan. Trusting that these opportunities are divinely orchestrated helps us step into the unknown with courage, even when we don't fully understand why things are happening the way they are. It reinforces our understanding that we don't need to have all the answers. God is guiding us every step of the way. Take, for instance, someone who feels called to a new ministry but is uncertain about leaving the comfort of their current life. The act of recognizing this calling, even amidst doubts or fear, can significantly strengthen their faith. Choosing to trust God's timing, His plan, and His provision in the face of uncertainty is an act of deep faith. This act of trusting in God opens the door for even greater faith and trust to develop. As we move forward in God's opportunities, we see His faithfulness unfold, and our trust in His guidance grows stronger. Faith is like a muscle, it strengthens with exercise. The more we recognize and act on the opportunities God provides, the more confident and assured we become in His leading. Each time we step forward in faith, even if it's with a small act of obedience, we build a foundation of trust that carries us through even more challenging moments. One of the most powerful outcomes of recognizing and embracing God's opportunities is the discovery of personal purpose and joy. We all seek purpose in life, something that gives us a sense of direction, meaning, and fulfillment. While personal success and achievements may bring temporary happiness, true fulfillment comes from living in alignment with God's will. When we recognize and take action on the opportunities God provides, we step into the purpose He has designed for us. Living in alignment with God's plan means that our lives are not just focused on personal achievement or accumulation of wealth or status, but on serving others, growing spiritually, and glorifying God through our actions. This alignment brings a deep sense of joy that is different from worldly success. It is the joy that comes from knowing that we are walking in the steps God has ordained for us. It is the joy of fulfillment that comes when we serve others, contribute to the well-being of the world, and align ourselves with God's greater purpose. For instance, someone who recognizes an opportunity to help others, whether it's volunteering their time, offering support to a friend, or using their professional skills for a cause greater than themselves, often finds that the act of service brings them more joy than personal achievements ever could. By following God's opportunities, we discover a sense of purpose that transcends our individual desires and connects us to something greater: the joy of participating in God's plan for the world. Furthermore, discovering personal purpose through recognizing God's opportunities often leads to increased fulfillment in other areas of life. People who align their work, relationships, and goals with God's will find that these areas are more satisfying because they are rooted in eternal values. Instead of constantly striving to meet external expectations, we begin to focus on what truly matters, being faithful to God's calling and living a life of service, love, and kindness. Recognizing God's opportunities is a key element of living a life full of purpose, faith, and joy. As we recognize the divine signs in our lives and respond to them, we begin to align ourselves with God's greater plan for us. These opportunities don't just lead to personal success, they help us grow into the people God created us to be. They bring us closer to His will, increase our faith, and deepen our understanding of our purpose in this world. By embracing God's opportunities, we step into a life of fulfillment, where our actions are guided by love, service, and trust in God's provision. When we respond in faith, we open ourselves to deeper joy, a joy that comes from knowing we are living in alignment with the Creator of the universe. As we continue to recognize and act on the opportunities God places before us, we experience a life that is full of purpose, guided by faith, and infused with the kind of joy that only comes from walking in God's plan. Recognizing opportunities from God is a journey. It requires patience, prayer, and a willingness to act. When we learn to see and seize these divine opportunities, we begin to live a more meaningful life in alignment with His greater plan. Each opportunity is an invitation from God to step deeper into our purpose and to trust in His guidance. By staying attuned to His voice and responding with faith, we find that our lives take on new depth and significance. Start today by listening for the signs around you and within you. Take time to pray, meditate, and open your heart to the opportunities God is sending your way. You'll find that each opportunity is a stepping stone to fulfilling your purpose. God's plan for you is unfolding, and by being open to His guidance, you'll move closer to living the life He's meant for you. If this message has been helpful to you, please share this video with others who may need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring how to recognize and embrace opportunities from God in life. Let's walk this journey of faith together, discovering the divine opportunities God has prepared for us.